right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday night. Bob Pompeani here until 11 o'clock. And then afterwards, join us for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That'll be on 7 minutes later than normal at about 11:43 tonight. And we have Andrew Filipponi and Will Graves kicking around. We talk about a lot of topics, of course, we always do. One of them will be Russell Wilson in the game he played today and what it means long term if this continues. Because he is 36, getting up there in age, but he said in his post-game interview he feels like he's 26, maybe 30. And if that's how he feels, special teams, because he's trending. You know, he's a viral component, given what the Steelers special teams have done this year. So they come away with a win, and that's big because Baltimore lost. So the Steelers now at 9-3, Baltimore 8-5. They're going into a bye week while the Steelers get Cleveland. And the most recent example of the Cleveland game is don't take them lightly, play hard, and they will be motivated, you would think, after losing in Cleveland the other day. So that'll be next up for them before they meet a 3-game stretch where they have the Eagles, the Ravens, and then the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the Bengals at the end. But by the end of the season, the Bengal game may be kind of a moot point given how bad they were, and they may be out of it. And if they're out of it, they may not be playing or doing it with any sort of purpose. So that could help the Steelers as well. All right, 412-575-2600 is the number to call. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about college football. A lot of developments. Today, Neil Brown was fired at West Virginia. Who can be his successor? A lot of names are coming up. Nick Saban, cross him off the list. He's not going to do that. I don't think he's got a good TV job. He'll be back if he wants to coach, but I don't think it'll be here. Jimbo Fisher is a name that's coming up a lot. He's being paid not to coach. That could help maybe West Virginia's cause. People have brought up Rich Rodriguez, back to the future with him. He's turned things around at Jackson State. And Neil Brown, 6 years. I'll say this, an upfront kind of guy, classy, just couldn't get it done at West Virginia. In those 6 years, he never had more than 6 wins, only one time, and didn't have a team that was ranked during those 6 years. They just got to the point where it was time to make a change, and so they've done that. Also, Pitt and Pat Narduzzi lost 5 in a row, and they got a tough ending to this season. This is year 10 for Pat Narduzzi. Penn State, on the other hand, is going to play in a championship game at the Big Ten. Not many people thought that was going to happen after they lost to Ohio State, but strange things happen in college football. We've seen a lot of upsets over the last couple of days. Penguins, are they back? 3 games in a row they've won. They looked a lot better, and they beat some pretty good teams, too, in Vancouver, Boston, and Calgary. Your thoughts? We welcome them in at 412-575-2600. That's the number to call. Hit me up on Twitter. It's at KDPomp. We will continue with your phone calls next. It's a Sunday night edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, which we do 7 nights a week right here on KDKA+. All right, this is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night from the NFL on CBS. Mike Tomlin has still never had a losing season, and he wraps this up pretty early. 18 straight without a losing season. Certainly an accomplishment that you probably never see again. And congrats to Mike Tomlin on keeping that team competitive every single year. And now the next step is getting into the playoffs and winning playoff games, which hasn't happened in a while. So bottom line is the Steelers are going to be in the driver's seat moving down the stretch. And the loss today by the Ravens certainly helped in that regard. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Let's go to Rick in Overbrook, our first caller tonight. Hey, Rick, what's going on?
Yeah, how you doing, Bob? How you doing? Calling about Joey Porter. I know he's young and everything, but he's got to do better at 5 penalties. This was an embarrassment today for him. He's got to get sharper, or he's going to cost us games in the playoffs.
Well, I think Mike Tomlin made it pretty clear that, they want him to be competitive, and he is a very physical corner. He is. He's got a long reach. He can stay with people. It's just a handsy game that gets caught. And it also depends on the officiating crew. Some days, you see officials leave that go. Others times they call it. And in this case, they called just about everything there, although they didn't call some things the other way. But I like his ability to stay with people. It's just a technique thing that has to be cleaned up. There's no question. You haven't seen one guy with 5 penalties in a game, but that's what he had today. The one that had 2-on-1, I think he panicked at the end. It was a free play, and he decided to just tackle the guy basically in the end zone, which led to the pass interference along with a holding call. So, hey, listen, they got the win. They could work on that. It's a lot easier when you make mistakes to change them, go over them when you win the game, and they certainly did today. All right, let's go back to the lines. We have Mike in Beaver Falls. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Well, happy holidays, Bob. Well, it looks like the red-hot Steel Steelers are still the real deal and still on the way to the last dance. My question to you, Bob, is how about them Steelers?
Yeah, so far so good. 9-3. If you had the over, which I did based on some of these preseason things, it was only like 8.5. You would already win that bet because the Steelers have gone over that. They navigated their way through the early part of the season. They had some losses they'd like to have back, but they ended up going 6-2 in the first 8, and I think that was important. Set the stage for what lies after that. And even absorbing a loss like that to Cleveland to come back the way they did here today and beating Baltimore at home when they did was very important. Those division games are important. The Steelers are 2-1 now in the division. They get a quick rematch with Cleveland coming up this weekend at Acrisure Stadium. So I'm anxious to see that game and what the Steelers may do because that Cleveland team, they took one away from the Steelers, and I'm sure the Steelers are going to want to get it back, and they'll do so at home this coming week. Mike in Franklin Township joins us. Hello, Mike. How are you?
How you doing, Bob?
Good, thanks.
Been a long time watcher of your show. First time calling in, but
thank you.
Just want to say, great game today, but puts me always on the edge of my seat. Those penalties always seem to put Pittsburgh in a precarious position of quite possibly losing the game. I just want to ask, between Pickett today and Porter, does Mike Tomlin ever discipline these guys? And I'd like to know your opinion on that.
I think he does it when he does it behind closed doors. You never see stuff that comes out. I also think it's important that Mike Tomlin handles these things, in positive ways. You don't have to discipline. I think people want to discipline every time. Bench a guy, take him out, do this. He talks to them a lot. You saw him today get after him a little bit after the first, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Short term it didn't work so much because he kicked the ball in the stands the one time, whatever. But I think afterwards he said, I can't afford to do that. I think the message will get in. He does it in his own way. And as far as, Porter and penalties, I mean, that was one of those days. I still think Joey Porter's a really good corner, and I think he's going to make more plays than not. Penalties are part of it. That's just the nature of the beast. When the offense became the focal point in the NFL and all the rules seemed to go in that direction, it's tough to play corner. I think outside of quarterback, it is the hardest position to play. Let's go to Chris in Zelienople. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Bob. I'm doing good.
Good.
I really enjoy seeing you on Joe Starkey's show, so really looking forward to watching you more on there. But
appreciate it.
I'm gonna change the subject a little bit more. Thinking about like Pitt football and everything. Like we got the basketball program that seems to be trending in the right direction. Zach Austin shot, man, what a great win against Ohio State.
Terrific.
I can't think about positive terms with the football team. Like you start 7-0, you lose the last 5. I mean, I get it. Like you lost Holstein for a few games. Yarnell came in, but I just can't, like with the new AD, I don't see the positive direction with Narduzzi right now, especially this AD. He's the guy that came in and fired Gus Malzahn in Auburn and let him go after he had such a good run there. I just can't imagine what he's going to do now with him, and I couldn't blame him if he fired him. I know he has like a big buyout and everything, but
that's the key. Yeah. I think, Chris, right there, the buyout, and I think you saw that play out last year in West Virginia. There were a lot of people down there who wanted Neil Brown fired after last season, although they did have 9 wins. That was their only real big season there. But still, a lot of people didn't like the direction, and the buyout, I think, prevented that from happening. Every year that goes by, the buyout gets less. And in the case of Pat Narduzzi, I think he signed through 2030. I don't see anything different happening here. I don't like the trend of the last 2 years. I thought this year was going to be something different after they started 7-0, but keep in mind they had injuries to the offensive line. The defense is really the bad thing. They have not done a good job defensively, really, and that's Pat Narduzzi's calling card. He came here as a defensive coordinator, and over the years it's not been all that great. But to your point, it's a new AD. He doesn't have any attachment to any of these coaches. So we'll see what happens, but I do know the buyout is significant, and I don't expect anything other than Pat Narduzzi to be back for another year at least, for sure, and we'll see where we can go. But honestly, they got a lot of questions coming up. Does Eli Holstein return? How much money will it cost him? Yeah, that's a big part of what's going on here. He's making about $300-some thousand this year. He'll want more. Somebody else may offer him more, depending on what they see from him or have seen from him. What about the offensive coordinator? Does he come back? He's been rumored to be, looked at by other teams. There are a lot of changes possibly that could take place. And the other thing is you got to go into that portal. You got to come up with more players. Every time you lose 5 or 6, you got to come up with more and figure out how much money to give them. So this is not an easy situation. No matter who you are, but especially a team like Pitt, which does not have the donor depth as some of these other programs. Let's go to Jim in Castle Shannon. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Bob, thank you for taking this call. I'd like to know, how does Terrell Austin still have a job? We got the highest paid defense by far in the NFL. It's 3rd and 21, and the guys are running wide open in our secondary. They blew the game last week. There's no way Cleveland should have beat us.
They're 9-3 though, and they made 3 significant defensive plays. This is about turnovers. Yeah, if you look at every team that has played Cincinnati so far this season, they've given up lots of points. Cincinnati scored lots of points, but man, those defenses have given up lots. So it doesn't matter who you are, how good you are. The bottom line is they knew they had to score today, and the difference this year versus the last couple of years post Ben Roethlisberger is they have the quarterback in the offense that can quickly respond. That makes a big difference. Joe Burrow's having a wonderful year. If he wasn't on this team, he'd be an MVP candidate for sure. Now he has 30 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. That's MVP material. But his defense is so bad, they're 4-8. So I don't have any problem with what they had. They gave up. I had more of a problem with the run game, the Chase Brown. A couple of games this year, the Giants game, if you remember, that young kid came in and ran it down their throats. And in this case, maybe it's just they haven't seen these guys enough. I don't know what the case is, but I expect better. I think you'll get better, but turnovers are a big part of it. And this defense did make big plays at critical times, and that's been what they've been doing all season long. We'll take a break, come back with more. It's 412-575-2600 right here on KDKA+. All right, welcome back. We continue here until 11 o'clock. Bob Pompeani with you. Join us tonight, number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown on after the late news, roughly 11:43 or 45 tonight. Andrew Filipponi and Will Graves of the Associated Press will join me. Bob is joining me right now in Beachview. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Fine, Bob. Thanks for taking my call. Say, I've been wondering, 4 years ago, Ben Roethlisberger told Najee he could run harder into the line, but he didn't seem anything like he is this year until this year. And I heard you point out that he said something about there was no passing game, so the linemen were
stacking the box. Yep.
And so I never heard that before. Is that he had that ability all the time? It's just.
Well, I think it's tough on any runner when the other team knows you're going to predominantly run the ball, or at least not be as effective in the passing game. I think right now with Russell Wilson, everyone has to be mindful of what can happen on that defense. We saw that the play that really kind of closed things out, it was Russell Wilson knowing that they had 8 guys in the box, single coverage on 2 receivers. Van Jefferson was on the right side of the field, and he just did a little slant. The defensive guy went around him the wrong way, and it led to a big game and pretty much sealed the game for the Steelers. So the weapon of going down the field is important. I still would like to see more middle of the field stuff. I saw some today, and I think the Steelers recognized that Cincinnati's defense was giving up the middle of the field, especially short stuff. We saw delayed kind of action from running backs coming out, turning around, and nobody's around them, and it would go for 15 yards. They did a lot of that today. 10 different receivers were involved. Russell Wilson's good at spreading the ball around. So you have to keep that honest in the pass game, which then allows runners to have more opportunity, I think. So it works both ways. Set up the run with it, set up the pass with it, however you choose to do it. All right, the Penguins, I had a question. Are they back? Do you think they're back? 3 straight wins. They needed them all. They beat Vancouver here last week, and then they went to Boston and beat a struggling Boston team, especially on the power play. And then last night at home, did a very good job against Calgary. As Alex Nedeljkovic and Tristan Jarry have both gotten better in net. And they're only a few points out of a playoff spot now, so they've closed the gap, mostly because the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference are struggling a little bit of late. So there's a long way to go. Do you believe the Penguins are now in a position where they can take a step, be more consistent, and get themselves in a position of the playoffs? We're going to certainly find that out. They got the Florida Panthers here tomorrow or on Tuesday night. defending Stanley Cup champs. That'll be a good test for them early on, trying to make it 4 wins in a row. Pitt basketball has a good game coming up this week against Ole Miss. This is Mississippi State. Mississippi State, I think it's a 9:15 tip-off on Wednesday, but they're a good team. They just beat a good ranked team, and the way they did it in Ohio State was pretty incredible. They were down double digits, came back. In fact, with 4 seconds left, I believe it was, they were down by 4 points, and they somehow forced overtime, ended up winning in overtime on a buzzer beater and a beautiful shot by Zach Austin. So they got some good guards on that team, there's no doubt, and Pitt is trending in the right direction. And that is going to do it for us tonight. Remember, we're on the air 7 nights a week. All you have to do is call 412-575-2600, and we'll take those calls on any topic. And there's a lot going on, obviously, in Pittsburgh sports. We always like to hear from you. We're entering the Hot Stove League of Baseball. I wonder if the Pirates are going to do anything at all. Dodgers have already brought in another outstanding pitcher, so keep adding more money to their payroll. It doesn't seem to matter. We'll talk about it with you throughout the course of the offseason. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you on the Showdown after the news on KDKA, and I hope you have a good week. Thank you.